Alright, I'm Bobby Rio, I'm back with Rob, and this is the final of the 3 myths that we wanted to sort of crush, stamp out like little ants that are corrupting guys, having them text all these wrong things to girls. And if you're one of the guys watching this, I feel you, because I was there for a really long time. I can't tell you how many girls that I let slip away. I was on Match.com for a while, and I had met these really great girls, and time after time, I would just lose them. They would like my profile, we'd meet in person, we'd go on a date, we'd have a good time, and then I never got that second date, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized that I was just, everything that I achieved in that first meeting, I was killing over text. And luckily, Rob here slapped me in the face and kind of woke me up and kind of set me on the right track, and now we want to do the same for you. So let's talk about the final myth that is crippling your texting skills, and that is all about how you're asking a girl out on a date. And there's a few reasons that you want to pay really close attention to what we're about to say, because there's a few sort of hidden reasons why this is so effective and why you want to listen to us. So Rob, let's let you take over for a minute.
Well, again, this goes back to the intuitive approach. Most guys take the intuitive approach, which is the wrong approach in the situation, whereas they approach setting up a date like this is still the 1950s or the 1960s, where it's like you need a formal invitation and you need to set up the date a couple days in advance, and it has to be this big elaborate thing. Even guys that just take girls out for drinks or whatever, they usually think, oh, I should give her a heads up, I should text her a couple days out in advance, I should, make some plans, I should make all this effort. And really, I mean, again, if this is your girlfriend or this is someone you're dating for a long time, make the effort. That's great. I have no problem, with romance and guys putting in the effort to set up a great date. But if this is a girl that you don't know that well, or you've only been on like 1 or 2 dates with her, and you start putting in that kind of effort, again, you're already coming from this in the wrong headspace. You're already looking at this from the wrong mindset. The way you should be looking at it as, look, this is year 2012, things are much more casual. The smartphone has, and I say this a lot, it really has revolutionized dating in the way that we set up dates, the way that we get to know people, the way that we do things, and you don't want to be texting or setting up dates like you're living in, 1950.
Yeah. Definitely one of the things that I learned, and when I kind of realized this, and is that when you set up a date, and you do it the old-fashioned way of, hey, what are you doing Friday night? Let's meet up. You're really pigeonholing yourself, and you're kind of preventing yourself from probably meeting up with her. I always tell this story is that when I kind of figured this out, what I realized is that when you set up a date in the sense of like, hey, I'm going to be going here, why don't you meet up with me? It opens you up the ability to set up as many dates or continue to try to set up as many dates as you want. To give an example, I had met this girl, Nicole, out, and it was my birthday, and I was actually out with another girl at the time. I was dating another girl at the time who wasn't with me, but I met Nicole at the time. I couldn't really have a relationship with her because I was in another relationship, but I kept in touch with her, and over the course of the month, I was just randomly inviting her out to parties I was going to, and a lot of times she would say, no, I can't make it tonight. But since I never set up a formal date, I never really got rejected. I just got her saying, hey, I couldn't make it. Well, sure enough, a couple months later, I'm heading out, and I'm like, hey, you know what, let me throw her a text that I'm going to this Halloween party. Sure enough, she shows up there and winds up going home with me. Now, had I 3 months earlier asked her out on a formal date, like Rob said, and I know a lot of my students, I get texts all the time from them saying, hey, I asked her out to, I bought tickets to this concert, and I asked her if she wanted to go to it with me. And then she said no, and now you're standing there with egg on your face. And listen, getting rejected is nothing to be ashamed of, but it makes it very hard for you from that point to then ask her out again, because now you're putting her in a position to reject you. And now it's like, how many times are you going to do that before you give up? Whereas when you're doing it the way we're suggesting, and you're kind of just throwing things out there, you can literally have 10 different girls that you just throw it out there. Hey, I'm going to be here. Why don't you meet me for some ice cream? Hey, I'm going to be here. Why don't we do this? And if they don't respond, I mean, you can go on forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the day that you're asking, like you were saying before, a lot of guys say, oh, let's meet up on Friday or Saturday night. Don't set up dates on Friday or Saturday night. Friday or Saturday night should either be time for your friends or time to meet new girls, but the weekend is not really a good time to go out with a girl that you don't know that well. So really, you should be reserving date nights for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes a Sunday. And I'll just give you a quick example. It happened literally yesterday. I texted a girl. I said, "Hey, this girl's being a real pain to get out." And I could, trying for weeks to, really attractive girl. So I wanted to get her out. So I kept texting her. No response, or she was saying, "Oh no, I can't come out." It's almost to the point that she was getting angry that I was texting her. She's like, "What? I can't come out. I'm working. I'm busy. Blah blah." So I texted her again. She said, "I'm busy. Whatever." I forgot. I didn't feel like I got rejected. I just, all right, fine, whatever. Went on my day. And sure enough, 11:30 that night, I guess she got out of work early, or she came home. She had a glass of wine, decided that she wanted to meet up with someone. But suddenly, I was getting a text from her. "What are you doing right now?" And that, led to a great date that ended, really good. So the point of it is that, if I wasn't constantly throwing out the invitations out there, even though she was saying no, and almost to the point where she was getting, why are you still texting me? Like, she was almost surprised I was being so persistent. But the thing was, I never really looked at it like I was really getting rejected. In fact, I thought it was kind of cute. So if you have that attitude that, you really don't care and that you're just kind of throwing out invitations.
Playful persistence. Is that what you call it?
Playful persistence. Yes, that's sort of the way I think of it. The phrase that I associate with just doing what you want. If you like this girl, you should keep pursuing her, but just don't take it that seriously. And like Bobby's saying, like when you're setting up these big, grand, romantic invitations, like I want to take you to the concert on Friday and wear your finest, black cocktail dress. I mean, you're setting things up in such a way that, when she says no, it's gonna look bad. It's gonna look bad for you. It's just not gonna be pretty. You're gonna feel embarrassed. It's gonna be weird. Whereas when you're just like, "Hey, I'm going out grabbing a beer. You wanna get a drink?" Or, "Hey, I'm gonna, one of my favorite texts."
Yeah, sorry. One of the things I think that I really want to nail home for you guys is that women. This idea of attraction isn't black or white, and that women's feelings change from moment to moment. They're a lot like guys. Whereas if a girl catches me on the right day, as opposed to the wrong day, like if a girl catches me on a day where I'm hard at work and I'm working on a new book, I'm in the middle of writing a book, and she calls me to meet her for drinks, I may just say no because I don't want to mess up my concentration. But 2 days later, when I finish the book and I'm in a mood to just go out and have a drink, if I get that same text from that same girl, I may be damn well anxious to go meet her. And I think a lot of guys don't realize that you don't know, when a girl pulls out her phone and looks at your text or your invite, you don't know what state of mind she's in. You don't know if she just got done getting yelled at by her boss. You don't know if she just got done talking to her ex-boyfriend who told her that he's thinking about getting back together. You have no clue what's going on in her life when she gets your text. So what you have to keep in mind is that her life changes on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of times it's all about capturing her at that right exact moment.
Yeah, it's that availability, and that's the thing is when you're constantly throwing out invitations out there and just not really looking for much of a response, and you're just kind of throwing out, "Hey, let's do this, let's do that." And you're constantly just giving her hooks to grab onto, and she might not grab onto the first couple hooks you throw out there, but as long as she's telling you, the only time she rejects you, she says, "Stop texting me," or, "Oh, I'm with, I have a boyfriend," or whatever. Those are legitimate excuses. But other than that, anything else she says, that's just her playfully just sort of like pushing you away, and it's your job as a man to keep coming back and keep throwing those hooks out there, because like Bobby's saying, you don't know what's going on in her life, you don't know how she feels. She might really like you, it's just that it's just a bad time for her. So as long as you're throwing things out and you're doing it playfully, that's when you're gonna achieve the most amount of dating success.
Yeah, and if you click the link below and you watch the video we put out where we talk about this Keylock sequence that Rob kind of figured out, it really allows you to capitalize on this. And one of the great things, I'm going to let you describe the Keylock sequence because, why should I take credit for it? You originated it, you taught it to me, I've used it and seen the results and love it, but you describe it better than I do, so go for it.
Well, the Keylock sequence came from a lot of trial and a lot of error, when I first moved to New York, I was getting a lot of phone numbers and I was not getting a lot of dates, and I was not really meeting up with these girls that I really liked. And it was frustrating, so I was just determined to figure this out. I just said, I have to unlock this. So I tried everything. I tried all different combinations of text, all different types of text. I read dating advice. I tried to text in there. I did all different types of stuff. And eventually I sifted away the absolute most effective way to go about this. And the way to do it is sending just 3 texts. Because you send any more text, you're starting to get annoying, you're starting to get weird, she's starting to wonder why, you're not asking her out. So there's a sequence of 3 texts that you send out. That's this Keylock sequence. And the real beauty of these 3 texts is that I found that girls are going to say no to you when they're in a logical state of mind. When you say stuff like, hey, what's up? Logically, she's going to respond, hey, nothing much. Or you say, hey, how you doing? She's going to logically respond, I'm doing okay, or I'm doing well. Whenever you're setting up this dynamic where you're asking these sort of pleasantries, which we talked about, in the video yesterday, you're setting her up to respond to you logically. And when a girl's making a sexual decision, whether to meet up with you, make out with you, go home with you, she's not going to make that decision in a logical headspace.
Logical equals no. It's just
yeah.
It's like when you're going to buy a new car and you logically start thinking about it, and you're thinking about the payments you're going to have to make, and you start thinking about the gas mileage. You always talk yourself into no. But emotionally, that's where you make yes decisions. And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when she's in an emotional state of mind, as you can probably imagine, you can just picture the girl that you like, and just picture her, laughing at all your jokes, leaning over, trying to listen to everything you're saying, agreeing with everything you're saying. She's all bubbly when she's dancing. She's very animated. You can just imagine a girl acting like that, and then you can probably absolutely imagine you just taking that girl by the hand, taking her out of the bar, and going home with her and having awesome sex. And the reason that you could imagine that is because when girls are in that emotional, fun, sort of playful state of mind, that's when they're going to be very open to moving a romantic relationship forward. Whether it's, giving out her number, meeting up with you for a date, making out with you, going home with you, all those things are going to happen when she's feeling good emotions, and those good emotions are coming from you. And that's what this Keylock sequence does, is that it's all predicated on creating the 3 most important good emotions that a woman needs to feel before she's going to feel good about meeting up with you for a date.
Emotional equals yes. Just think of it that way. If you want to get a yes answer, you've got to first invoke an emotion, and you've got to capitalize on that as quickly as possible, because emotions fade. A woman feels an emotion, but if you don't capitalize on it, sure enough, something else takes her attention away, that emotion fades, and now 2 days later you say, hey, let's hang out, that emotion's gone. Now it's back to a logical question that you're asking her, and logical questions get no. So, below is a video that describes all of this in more detail, and I think that you're really going to sort of be awakened to a lot of different concepts that you might not be thinking of it when you pull out your cell phone and you're like, I'm going to send this girl a text. You might not realize there's a lot of sort of sub-dynamics taking place beyond the surface that when you know this and how this works, a whole sort of new exciting world opens up for you. So watch the video below and let us know what you think.